The content of this podcast is provided for general informational purposes only and is not intended as, nor should it be considered a substitute for professional medical advice.
Sweaty and pissed. Menopause makes me sweaty and pissed.
Hello, sweaty and pissed listeners. I'm Karen Nickell, nurse practitioner, and I'm here with
Leanne Morgan, comedian, and someone with pajamas. COVID pajamas.
Performing in pajamas. Hey, it's sort of a nice thing to do, I think. Be comfortable.
It is. Oh. But
yeah, I miss, I've missed out on the whole hanging around the house in my pajamas thing.
yeah, you have.
Still have to go into work every day. Oh, well. Essential worker. That's the trouble there. So,
But I do think it's good to get up and put makeup on, and I think it helps with attitude and
normal,
feeling like purpose and
having some sense of normalcy.
Yeah, my daughter-in-law is working from home right now, and she really doesn't enjoy it. She needs people, and she sometimes, I mean, it's okay for a while, but she gets antsy.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Forrest has been working from home since February. Yikes. So I know it's sort of nice to be around people on a regular basis. So I know a lot of our listeners are dealing with that too. So, and on that subject, that obviously can affect mood. And I thought we could talk today about mood changes in perimenopause and how, because we have a listener who asked the question if we could talk about mood changes with perimenopause and increase in anxiety. She also wants to know how best to deal with side effects from antidepressants that lots of women take for generalized anxiety disorder, along with hormonal changes. So there's a lot going on there. So we sort of might have to break those down into a couple pieces. But a lot of perimenopausal women, as you know, Leanne, have a lot of mood changes in their 40s as they're moving into menopause, moving toward menopause. We can get a lot of anxiety, fearfulness, sleep problems, depression, mood swings, foggy thinking.
You've compared it to little girls in middle school.
Exactly.
And you remember middle school was HELL.
Yep.
For most people.
Mm-hmm.
And the volatile relationships and feeling left out and feeling inadequate and insecure, all of those things hit you when you're in perimenopause and you've got a bunch of kids in a minivan, and you got your own crap. Now this is happening.
Right.
It's bizarre, and people don't realize, and they think, what is wrong with me?
Yeah.
And that's what it is when little perimenopause sinks in there.
Yeah, because the hormones are swinging in the same fashion as they do in middle school and early high school years. So you think you only are going to go through that once, and then boom, you go through it twice. So
I know, it's like being in the movie Grease, and all of that. Kaneki and Rizzo and everybody's. Oh, I was thinking about that the other day because who was I in the car with? We were talking about when you're growing up and when my kids were little, we'd be like, oh, Grease is on, or Dirty Dancing, these movies that we love, Footloose. And then you start watching them with your kids and you realize that they've really got adult content in them. And it's really not appropriate because Rizzo's, the condom broke in the back of in the car during the drive-in. And then, when Rizzo, Stalker Channing was probably 45 when she played a teenage girl. But anyway, and then in Dirty Dancing, there were very adult situations happening, and among all the people that worked on the staff in the Catskills. So, but anyway, it just made me think of that because, Grease, all those teenagers, and they all had so much angst and freaked out and all that.
Yes. So, as you said, during perimenopause, because we have these big estrogen swings, as we do when we're early in our development in our teens and our early teens, at that time as well, we have this big swinging of estrogen. So it's a similar kind of feeling. So if you think back to that time, that's sort of what you can go through with perimenopause. And the thing that typically happens is that because perimenopausal symptoms, the list of symptoms are practically identical to depression symptoms. Oftentimes when women go into their provider and give them a list of symptoms, they say, oh, you need an antidepressant. You're depressed and you need an antidepressant. And antidepressants are necessary medicines, and I use them on people all the time. I prescribe them all the time. But that's often the go-to answer, is to start someone on an antidepressant, because people come in and say, I'm tired. I don't feel like doing anything. My brain's foggy. I'm anxious. I can't sleep. My moods are swinging around. I'm irritable. And those are all depression symptoms. So typically someone will be started on an antidepressant, and that will help some of the symptoms, but it doesn't help with some of the hormonal symptoms typically. And a lot of our antidepressants, especially SSRIs, tend to have the side effect of sexual dysfunction, either low libido or difficulty having orgasm. And perimenopausal women are already sort of dealing with that problem anyway. And so adding an antidepressant can help the mood, but tends to worsen the libido problem. So it's this sort of poor cycle that we get into, where we help some symptoms, but we worsen some other symptoms with the treatment. So if someone is on antidepressants, specifically SSRIs, and some other antidepressants also will cause low libido, but most people end up getting put on an SSRI initially, which is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, and it raises serotonin in the synapses of our brain. If you've been put on an SSRI and you're having fatigue and weight gain and low libido, oftentimes adding on bupropion or branded name Wellbutrin will help with those symptoms, because Wellbutrin actually helps with some weight loss. It enhances libido and can give you some energy, helps with focus. So it can often help with some of those perimenopausal symptoms that even with hormone balance or an SSRI are still present. So adding on bupropion or Wellbutrin can help offset some of those SSRI side effects. Because, as I said, SSRIs raise serotonin, but bupropion raises dopamine and norepinephrine. And so the two together sort of cover the whole gamut of neurotransmitters in terms of targeting depression and anxiety. So if someone isn't on an SSRI and they're having all those symptoms, like when I have someone come in, if they're not yet on an antidepressant and they have all those symptoms, obviously I look at hormone balance first and see what we can do in terms of hormone balance. And then if even with the hormones well balanced and we've taken care of sleep and energy and mood swings, if people are still having low libido or some low energy, sometimes adding bupropion or Wellbutrin to the mix can help with those things. And bupropion, because it helps with focus, also helps with some of the ADD type symptoms we develop when we go into perimenopause and menopause. Many women who are going through those changes say, I'm either getting dementia or ADD or both, because the brain just doesn't work the same way. You know how that feels, Leanne, correct?
Oh, I know. I felt like I had dementia. I mean, I thought something's bad wrong with me. Yeah. I really felt that way.
And some people who can't tolerate an ADD med, who have ADD but just tend to have too many side effects on ADD med, sometimes they will do well on Wellbutrin or bupropion because it does raise dopamine, which really helps with ADD symptoms. So it can be a really good fit for people. When the listener asks about mood changes and hormonal changes, I know we've talked many times about estrogen dominance, but that is the main hormonal imbalance problem that happens during perimenopause, where we have too much estrogen and not enough progesterone. And not that estrogen's the bad guy, but when it's high, it can make us foggy-headed. We have fluid retention. We tend to store more fat, especially around our waist and hips. We tend to have low libido, low sex drive, because estrogens typically secrete the highest in secretion during the first part of the month in the cycle, because it's getting us ready for pregnancy. And so it basically sends a message saying, don't have sex yet, you don't have an egg. And then progesterone is secreted after you ovulate, and progesterone sends a message to have sex, you have an egg, here we go. So getting those two balanced can help with the sex drive. And again, with estrogen, it's again because it's getting us ready for pregnancy. It tells us to store fat, tells us to store fluid in preparation for a potential pregnancy. And then when progesterone's secreted, if the egg isn't fertilized, then it sends a message to start burning fat stores, get rid of extra fluid, all that stuff. So they really balance one another. And so getting those balanced in perimenopause is key. And so the other thing about getting progesterone levels up is progesterone is our mood stabilizing hormone and our sleep promoting hormone. So it will help with a lot of those perimenopausal symptoms people have.
Yeah, everybody wants the progesterone. You know, that's the good one.
Gotta have the progesterone.
That's what Suzanne Summers has been slathering all over her body.
And look at her.
For 20, 30 years.
She looks fabulous.
She does.
Well, and some people, I know, again, we've mentioned this on other podcasts, but some people, if you give them direct progesterone replacement, sometimes people don't do well on that. I would say that's in the minority, but some people tend to have side effects like bloating or moodiness if they have that kind of progesterone sensitivity. So there are other things like Vitex, which is chasteberry, which is a supplement, over-the-counter supplement, that raises luteinizing hormone from your pituitary gland, and it sends a message to your ovary that you need to make more progesterone. So it's a way to bump up your progesterone levels without giving you direct progesterone replacement. And some people do better with that sort of indirect approach. And certainly is something you can do over the counter. Doesn't require a prescription.
And that's chasteberry?
Chasteberry. And often called Vitex, Vitex. There's one, Gaia Herbs makes a product that's called, they call it Vitex Berry. Gaia Herbs is Gaia, Gaia Herbs, Vitex Berry. And in 2 caps. I believe it has 1,000 milligrams of chasteberry. And you would take 2 caps daily, every day except on days when you have a period. So you don't take it during the period. So that can help with progesterone production. And then when estrogen's high, we use things like milk thistle caps, about 600 milligrams daily, or something called DIM, D-I-M, which is diindolmethylyl, which is a substance that's in cruciferous vegetables like broccoli. And we use 100 milligrams twice a day. And that, either one of those will help clear extra estrogen from your body. So typically, if you're just using a supplemental approach, something like Vitex and either milk thistle or DIM can help with that estrogen dominance and help with some of those hormonal symptoms that we have in perimenopause.
Oh, I was on all of that when I was in the middle of all those throes of perimenopause, but now I don't have any estrogen.
Yep.
Right? So I don't take the milk thistle and the DIM anymore.
Yeah, and there's this whole set of issues when we get into menopause, but at least we're not dealing with hormones that are swinging around, which makes my life easier because I'm not trying to balance swinging hormones. Once you get into menopause, the hormones you have are what we give you. So
yeah, you're not hitting a moving target.
Exactly. The only exception is, as I mentioned before, the adrenal glands can secrete estrogen and testosterone, especially if they can't secrete enough cortisol for your stress demands. So sometimes we'll see a bump up in testosterone during stressful times. As a matter of fact, during COVID-19 pandemic, I've seen quite a few women with high testosterone, with high testosterone in their blood.
You're seeing a lot of people, you cut out, a lot of people with high testosterone during COVID because of stress.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, Lord. And so how would one know they've got too much testosterone because of COVID?
Well, high testosterone, some women can have high testosterone levels and do not have high testosterone symptoms, but typically high testosterone symptoms include, more oily skin, acne breakouts, hair loss, especially along the frontal hairline, agitation, irritability, nipple tenderness. All those are high testosterone symptoms.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
what does one do when one's got high testosterone during the COVID?
Well, when I see that, if someone is on a hormone replacement and they have testosterone in their hormone combination, I usually will have them stop the testosterone temporarily, and if they're not taking adrenal support supplement, I have them start an adrenal support supplement. If they are taking something to support the adrenal gland, I intensify that regimen to try to help so that the adrenal glands can secrete cortisol instead of testosterone.
Okay.
I mean, we have medications like spironolactone and metformin that we use to lower testosterone, but typically in a situation like that where I know it's likely due to a situational stress problem, then I will try to balance it based on the stress.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I've been seeing that quite a bit.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And that brand, I've got Gaia Adrenal Support.
Right. And they make a very good product. The daily support, and they have nightly restore too, that you can take at night or at bedtime. So yeah, they have a lot of good products. The Gaia Herb brand for sure. So that's something that probably needs to be checked out if you're taking hormones and all of a sudden you're having a bunch of high testosterone symptoms during this somewhat stressful time. Then maybe have your provider recheck that and see if that needs to be addressed.
And all the girls out there, if you can, get out and take a good walk, take a hike, watch the hummingbirds.
Yep.
Do things that help relieve stress. And, you've talked to me about it many a time in our episodes about when you start perimenopause, if you, try to eat clean, exercise, get plenty of sleep, how much easier it is on you.
Oh, I know.
And, if you're just go off the deep end and, sit in the bed and eat a cake, been there, done that, but it wasn't good. And of course, all these little mamas right now dropping little children off at college, and they're stressed because they don't know. That's one thing. You already miss your baby and you're hysterical. And then now you don't know if your baby is even going to get to stay at college.
No kidding.
My sister just dropped off my niece and nephew. She's a senior and he'll be a freshman at Wake Forest. And, they're hoping they get to stay. What my nephew is so excited, and he's going to have to take online classes in his dorm room. Can't leave his dorm room, but for so many minutes a day. I mean, it's just a lot on everybody.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, that's a really difficult time anyway when you're launching your young adult child, and going to college is exciting, but it's it's a stressful situation for the student. Everything's new, everything's new place, new friends, new professors. So
yeah, and your mama is in perimenopause,
and then you layer COVID on top of it, and it's a lot.
And your mama's probably crying in the car, and it's just a lot on everybody. But it is something that everybody will be fine, and it will get through it. And when I've left every one of them at school, I've bawled my eyes out, and then they're all found their way, and it all works out.
Yes, it does, and it will. So I know my husband's starting first day of classes at UT today, so that should be interesting. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Well, do you have any more insights into the perimenopausal world that you lived through for our listener?
Well, I mean, Lord, I could go on for days, but no, now see, I'm already past that. I'm like that old shoe. I got through that. I just remember thinking, I had a lot of anxiety. Yeah. My heart would race. Mm-hmm. I'm on thyroid medication, and sometimes you would adjust my thyroid medicine, and, but I know it was perimenopause, and if I did a lot of things like get out and walk and then, I felt better.
Yeah.
But, my sleep started to be disrupted then.
Mm-hmm.
And,
bringing up the thyroid is a good point because, when estrogen levels go up, our available thyroid hormone levels go down. So if you've got an estrogen that's swinging up and down, the thyroid levels tend to not be as steady. So oftentimes women will need a lot more adjusting of their thyroid hormone because their estrogen's swinging around. So that was a lot of what was going on with you.
Yeah. A lot of hair loss and I was exhausted.
Yeah.
And didn't feel good. And but I'm doing so much better.
Yeah,
You've got all that regulated.
Yeah, you got that in your rearview mirror. That's good.
Yeah.
Don't need to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, but but I feel for little women going through that. And I try to, when I was touring, I tried to tell them there's a thing called perimenopause, and it's going to come at you in the middle of the night like a ghost. And then it's going to last 10 years, and you're going to feel like a middle school girl, and people have a horrible look on their face, but that's the truth. And then, people think of menopause as when perimenopause starts, but that's not it. That's a whole nother thing. So let's all focus on you girls out there in your late 30s, early 40s. Let's focus on your perimenopause.
Yeah.
And get that, get to your healthcare provider and tell them your symptoms.
Mm-hmm. And as always, like you were saying, that exercise, eating right, getting enough sleep, drinking water, all those things help, especially the exercise helping with hormone balance really, really helps. Frankly, everything we talk about, the bottom line is exercise, eat healthy, get some sleep. So
yeah, prayer,
mm-hmm.
meditation,
mm-hmm.
mindfulness.
Yep.
My sister went on the fast metabolism diet. And if she says it one more time to all of us in her family, we're all going to whip her. But she got on the fast metabolism diet that is supposed to help regulate your hormones. And, the first 6 weeks, she didn't lose that much weight. The second 6 weeks, she really did. I mean, she lost like 25 pounds during the whole 12 weeks. But the doctor is a nutritionist and talks about the different foods. So she takes you off of dairy and gluten.
Mm-hmm.
And you eat certain foods during certain days of the week. And my sister didn't have hot flashes, wasn't as moody, didn't have the terrible anxiety. I mean, it really made a difference.
Yeah.
And it's Haley Pomeroy, fast metabolism, but she'd be driving her kids to school and chomping on celery while she was talking to me on the phone, and her kids and I we'd all go, please don't talk, please don't eat the celery on the way to school. Just eat that in your own time. But because you eat so many fruits and vegetables and so many things to help level off your hormones. But anyway, I mean, it sounds complicated, but it's really not. It was a, very satisfying way to eat and that kind of thing. So anyway, if anybody's she's just always going, I need to get back on that. If I just could get myself together and get back on that Haley Pomeroy fast metabolism diet. And she's talked about it so much, it's turned all of us off, but it really does. I think some of those books that you can read about different foods and how they do cause your hormones to get out of whack.
Yeah. Yeah. So really healthy diet and exercise. I mean, if you don't want to take hormones, or if you don't want to take supplements or both, then lifestyle changes are huge in terms of symptom relief. Now, the problem is when people aren't feeling well, they're tired and cranky and foggy. Oftentimes it's hard to be motivated to start those, to implement those changes. So be kind to yourself and think about one thing you can do, because every little thing that you do to feel a little bit better will help you do more things to feel better. It sounds sort of simplistic, but when people feel a little bit better, they have the energy and motivation to do more things that are healthy choices that will make them feel better. So, I think a lot of people think they need to just start everything all at once and fix it all at once. And if it starts with just walking for 10 minutes a day, start there, because that will make you feel better, and you can do the next step. Walk a little bit longer. Change one thing in your diet. Stop drinking sodas or sugar drinks, sweet tea. Just take one step at a time to get to that goal. That's usually people are more successful that way, because otherwise it gets too overwhelming and it's easy to give up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't try to be Gwyneth Paltrow
Not in one day, for sure.
in one day. Yeah.
Although we'd like to do that, but
Yeah, she's cute.
she's pretty cute.
She's pretty cute. And Reese Witherspoon has become a friend of mine.
Oh, how
and
neat.
it's the craziest thing. Anyway, she's so she defends me on social media. Like if somebody's using my voice to on TikTok or something, she's like my little fighter. It's the craziest thing. She is so cute. But she does this. I've watched her on Instagram, and I told her, I said, I'll make that and film it, and I haven't. But people like her and Gwyneth Paltrow, you know, I've seen her in person, and she's childlike, tiny.
Yeah.
Her skin is glowing. And she said, I do the shake every morning. And Kerry Washington and I were at the Emmys or something, and Kerry Washington's skin was glowing. I was like, Kerry, what do you do? And so she shows this big drink she makes every day. And it's like a big thing of romaine lettuce, an apple, a lemon, a pear, coconut water. I can't even tell you what, like kale, all this stuff. And I did make it one day. I didn't film it, but I made it, and I did put celery in it, and it was the worst thing I'd ever drank in my life. Now I told her, I said, I'm gonna take that celery out. I think the celery is what threw me, and it was pulpy, and I didn't have a big Vitamix juicer. Anyway, you know, she drinks that every morning, and it makes enough for two and saves for the next day. And that little thing, I mean, has not aged.
Wow.
You know, she's getting in so many fruits and vegetables a day. She's nourishing her body. But you know, those Hollywood people, Lord, they've got, you know,
Time and money. They've got time and money.
But us women out here trying to
make a living,
we need to do it too. You know, put something healthy in a drink and do that for yourself. And especially during times when, like the COVID, and your baby's leaving to go to college, or somebody's planning a wedding and it's been booted. You know, there's just a lot going on in this weird time. And so I tell people, really, you know, take the time to do some self-care and make yourself a healthy drink.
Yeah. You'll have to get that recipe. I'll put it on the website.
Yeah, I've got it. Okay. Let me tell you, it's a lot of stuff.
You can send it to me.
And that little thing drinks that. It's as big as she is.
You can send it to me. Well, speaking of glowing, one of our listeners asked what the name again of your tanning stuff that you do.
Oh, okay. Tampa Bay Tans is the company in Florida. Tampa Bay Tans, and I use the Revive formula that is organic, and it is for so that it doesn't cling to your age spots. So they've got all kinds of formulas, and they've got good formulas, but like some are bronzing. It might be good for young people who don't have a lot of age spots, you know, because when you use a bronzer, it'll like cling to your spots. Right. Nobody wants that.
Nobody.
Okay. Yeah. This one's called Revive.
Okay. I'll put that on the blog too.
Yeah. And they're really sweet. There's a woman named Vicky.
Yeah.
If you need to call her and ask her. And I've got my own spray tan machine in my basement.
And your little tent, your pop-up tent.
My pop-up tent. And, yeah. And I'm telling you, it makes me feel good. And my legs are so, and I don't even have that much sun damage compared to a lot of people my age, because I had a melanoma when I was in college, and that scared the fool out of me. So, I've always loved spray tans, or, you know, I just rub it on, or I'd go get a spray tan. But, my legs are so white because I don't get sun. And then they've got, you know, a couple of big freckles on them. So I love a good spray on my legs, and it just makes me feel better instead of having to put on leg makeup for stage, which there's nothing wrong with that. I know people that use that, and I like that. You know, that's good too. but I just like a spray tan makes me feel better in the summer.
Yeah.
And Revive has so many different. They have 3 or 4 different DHA percentages. So they've got them for like redhead, and then a darker skinned person. They've got all. So I think I like. I use around a 9%, but say if you're very fair, you'd use a 7%. If you're more olive skin, you'd use a 11.
Got it. I'll put it up there. And also what's on the website and on our Facebook page is our link to our merchandise.
Yes, our Sweaty and Pissed merchandise, which is going really well.
Yes.
People seem to be loving it.
Yes. I walked into an exam room the other day and one of my patients had on a Sweaty and Pissed shirt.
Oh.
Yes, indeed. And it was the long sleeve t-shirt, and it was nice and roomy and nice fabric. And so.
What color was it?
She had a white shirt. It was just white.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, but it was good. It was good fit. It was a loose fit and good fabric. So
doesn't cling to
there was no clinging happening.
No clinging into the cortisol.
No clinging.
Oh,
so
good.
yeah, so you can head to our website, Sweaty and Pissed, with the and spelled out, sweatyandpissed.com, and there's a link right there. And also on the website, don't forget, are the blogs that I put on there that for several of our shows, information from several shows, a supplement list, a reading list. Last week, Leanne, I did a listener question episode about UTIs, urinary tract infections, and herpes infections. And so I put that's already on the blog, all the information from that talk. So check out the blog at the bottom of the webpage. And then on our Facebook page, we have the link for the merchandise there too. We'll get you some merchandise so we can get you posing and pictures for the website.
Everybody wants to see me in merchandise.
Yes.
My breast, Lord. Lord, I'll have to make sure I get a spray tan.
Yeah, so we'll check that out for us, and I think you'll like a lot of the things that are on there. And I do want to thank Forrest Wenzel for producing the show and for composing our theme music and figuring out our merchandise store. And thanks to Stephen Brown for our artwork that's on all our merchandise. So, and thanks to Leanne for being the star that she is.
Oh, Lord. Well, thank you, honey, for being the brilliant one and star that you are.
Shoo. So it's been fun to see you.
Good to see you, my darling. Okay. All righty. Well, I've had a ball.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening, everyone. And thanks for your questions and comments on Facebook. We really appreciate them and appreciate your support. And go visit the merchandise store and check out the website. Right, Leanne?
All right, my darling. Good talking.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Sweaty and pissed.